Dog-loving former drag queen Paul O'Grady reckons cross-dressing men are now such a huge hit they could soon take over as the nation's newshounds. The star, who first shot to fame as loudmouthed Lily Savage, said, "A lot of men like dressing up in drag, these rugby club dudes. You look at their behavior and you think, oh dear." At the moment it is the current trend. We'll have a drag queen reading the news before much longer. Question Time will be hosted by a drag queen. That would liven things up. Paul, 66, will be back on our screens on Christmas Day, hosting his much-loved show For the Love of Dogs. But he could never now be tempted to dress up as Lily, his alter ego who shot him to TV fame in the 80s. He said, "There's not enough cash on earth to get me dragged up. God no. It's always been, why don't you be Lily Savage again? Well, because 1, I'm too old. And 2, I couldn't be bothered." At the time I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I've moved on. Even in Pando I wouldn't fancy it. But while Lily is gone, she will definitely not be forgotten. Paul has lent one of her flamboyant wigs to London's V&A Museum, for a costumes exhibition. He said, "I went up to my loft and found it. It was so heavy and I thought, how did I glue it down and put on all that makeup? You just think uck." There could be more hair-raising events at Paul's Kent farm this Christmas, where the star will be hosting a family get-together, and hoping to recreate some of the raucous nights he used to have with his late pal Cilla Black, who died in 2015. He said, "I'm up for staying up late. Years ago I remember it was me and Cilla, Ronnie and Joe Wood and Jeff Beck. We were all at Ronnie's house. It was 4 a.m. and we went downstairs. Ronnie and Jeff were playing guitar and I sang Elvis Trouble. And then you could hear Cilla whistling. That was rock and roll." Paul, who lives with husband Andre, admits he's worried about catering for their guests. He said, "You buy those little nibbles and put them in the freezer. Then you put them in the oven and forget about it. Then that's cremated." Then you have nothing to eat. That always happens. Another year his cats pulled down the Christmas tree. But Paul said, "This year we've got 10 dogs here. They'll be good." The latest canine to join the O'Grady pack is a dachshund, who he met while filming For the Love of Dogs. Sausage hails from Romania and Paul wants to learn her language. He said, "I've been using a translate app to learn Romanian for sit, down and who's a good girl. I tried Polish, Russian and German, but she blanked me." The most recent additions to his menagerie are 3 pregnant alpacas, who have joined 5 dogs, 5 pigs, 3 goats, 4 owls, a flock of sheep, and lots of chickens and ducks. Paul plans to help the alpacas give birth. He said, "I've done it with sheep. You get quite hardened with these things." But he can't get used to the Tories. He said, "Boris is a fool and completely out of his depth." "Look at the billions the Tories squandered on test and trace. And all his mates who've had backenders. We need someone to say, look, if you want to have a good time, you've got to wear a mask and you've also got to make sure you're double vaccinated." Priti Patel is worse than ever, a pantomime villainess. God almighty. It's unbearable. But Paul stays calm by learning the ukulele, making chutney and writing a kid's book. He said, "I don't have a bucket list, but I'm just hoping Christmas will happen." And with that he's back to his animals. For the Love of Dogs is on ITV at 7 p.m. on Christmas Day.